It's my audience, Kyle, Keaton, and Dan. These are my two visual aids. I got a graph here of the states of death penalty and a picture of a deathbed. Capital punishment has been in existence for many centuries, during which the first death sentence law got inception in Babylon. Different parts of the world took up the penalty as a measure against all crimes by the 10th century. America, during its colonization, and the Europeans inherited this practice. Different colonies in America had varying death sentence legislation, some of which were adverse. Michigan pioneered the abolishment of the death sentence for wrongdoings except treachery in the 1800s. Since then, it has been eliminated in all Western countries except America. As we are all well aware of crime and death in the U.S., this controversial subject is relevant to us all. I feel credible to speak about this topic from doing an ample amount of research and being interested about the topic. The death penalty is a very controversial topic. It is an unjust form of punishment, which is what I am going to tell you all about today. First, I will explain to you what death penalty is. Next, I will go over the trauma involved in people's lives affected by the death penalty. And lastly, I will talk to you about the how it is unethical and against minorities. There are many reasons the death penalty should be abolished. It is a complicated issue and is difficult to point to any single fact or argument as the most important to punish someone for their actions. In 1767, Caesar Beccari wrote an essay titled Crimes and Punishment, which theorized that all states were in no way justified to take a person's life. Caesar's sentiments negate the notion that capital punishment works as a deterrent of capital offenses. Previously, the public had confidence in the death penalty because it believed in the deterrent effect that the view has changed. According to Lambert and Clark, it is a moral issue that abolitionists have continually strived to bring to an end. Death penalties are extremely costly in terms of money and time. Due to the unwillingness of the perpetrators to plead guilty, they make appeals that follows into a series of trials to exploit taxpayers. Kansas state study established that the cost of a capital case is far much costly as compared to a life sentence without parole. I believe that the state should not give itself the right to kill human beings, especially when it kills with premeditation and ceremony. The death penalty is a gruesome way of torturing an individual for their wrongdoings. Death penalties are final in nature, and this is traumatizing in the case where the innocent may face execution and later on truth emerges of their innocence. Faulty judgment arising from evidence withholding, incompetent lawyers, fake witnesses, and so on have raised concerns as to whether the decision to carry out the death penalties is indeed right. The psychological trauma suffered by both the convict and his or her family is unformidable. The death row phenomenon and death row syndrome undergo by convicts while awaiting death is unnecessary. In addition, the means of execution is torturous and completely inhumane and by no means justifiable considering the person is going to die anyway. Once the death penalty has been used upon someone, there is no way to take it back. The execution of juveniles is also unacceptable, as during adolescent stage of development, the child is undergoing psychological changes that can lead to erratic behavior that they have no control over. Young people who have committed crimes that warrant death penalty should receive lesser sentences and given an opportunity to not only grow and mature, but also take part in the development of the nation. Another reason why death penalty should be abolished is that it oppresses the poor and the other minority groups. Poor defendants who cannot afford private lawyers are assigned incommodate state lawyers who poorly represent them, thus being denied the right to a fair trial and mostly end up being sentenced to death. In addition, since the death penalty is rarely applicable in most of the situations, it should be done away with. The death penalty violates the right to live. It is the ultimate cruel and degrading punishment known in the U.S. Today I persuaded you all about the controversial death penalty and why this law should be abolished. First I explained to you what the death penalty is. Then I went into some of the trauma involved in people's lives affected by the death penalty. And lastly, I talked about it as unethical and against minorities. In conclusion, it is inarguable that the death sentence is a crucial act and should be disregarded in the U.S., not only to uphold the international civil liberties and self-esteem, but also so that the states can show it has attained a level of moral development in line with the contemporary social context.